We're going to turn now to the rumours, speculation and closed-doors discussions taking place about the future of Auckland's council-owned Ports of Auckland business, recently valued at about $1.1 billion on land, valued at roughly $500 million. It's not only a valuable asset, it's occupying prime real estate in a city in which prime real estate is rapaciously coveted. As the media speculates about what Mayor Phill Goff is going to do, we asked him, first of all, is this a decision he can make?
Absolutely not, and I don't even know that that is the option that Council would look at as its preference at this point. Any decision about the future of the port is one that is made around the Council table. There's 21 people there. I chair it, and I'm one vote. But what I wanted from the meeting that we had yesterday was an update basically focused on the Port's future study. As you know, during the campaign, I stated a very clear position that over time I wanted the port moved from the central business district of Auckland, and I wanted Aucklanders to regain access to probably what's their most precious asset in the city, and that's
Absolutely.
the access to the harbour.
Okay, and you are explicitly on the record. In fact, I have your policy statement in front of me, and you make a compelling case for moving it. 77 hectares, prime land, all the strings attached to having a port there, all the traffic, all the trucks rumbling through town, the loss of the waterfront, all of that stuff. So you are on the record. The point I think everyone is trying to get to now is to what extent you are driving this within council and what stage you are collectively at. And I totally accept that you are one vote, and that this is a council decision, but where are you at with the future of the port?
Well, what I want is a clear plan for the port over time to relocate, and I've got to stress over time. You know, all the studies that I've seen done on relocation of ports indicate that for this to happen, by the time you find an alternative port site that makes economic and environmental sense, you then have to do the design, you then have to do the infrastructure that connects with it. This is something that's not going to happen in the next 10 years. This is probably going to be 20 years out. The ports kind of talk about it being 40 years out. I think it'll never be cheaper to move the port than it is to do it as early as possible. But the next step to progress, John, is basically finding another site that does meet the requirements. It's got to be economic, it's got to make sense, and it's got to take into account environmental sensitivities and probably some of the iwi factors as well in that. And the Port's Future Study gave us a couple of options. One was in the Manukau Harbour, one was in the Firth of Thames. I think the Manukau Harbour would be a stretch, quite frankly. It's on the wrong coast for the shipping lines wanting to use it. It's so shallow that both the harbour and the bar would have to be constantly dredged. But it was put up as an option. I think the ports are thinking more realistically the option would be in the Firth of Thames. Why is it important? I think that's the thing I really want to stress. One, it's a question of access and the use of probably the most valuable real estate in New Zealand. At the moment, we use it to park cars and containers. The second thing is that, I think you're going to get a better return for Aucklanders and a better return commercially by using that land to the best possible value you can, 77 hectares. And giving the ports, I think just the other side of that question is giving the ports the ability to develop a 21st century port with a footprint that enables them to expand with the growing growth in freight, that does not mean that we get the wharves encroaching further and further out into our harbour. That's my bottom line.
Yeah, you've said no more reclamation.
No more reclamation.
Full stop. Okay, so that's the bottom line. I'm just reading Bernard Ordsman in the Herald, and he's saying that there's discussion on IPO, initial public offering, is being discussed in merchant banking circles, and there's a lot of value sitting there. Are you looking to realise value in the short term? So you're talking about 10, 20, 40 years moving the ports. But in the meantime, by golly, that's a valuable asset. Are you looking to try to start cashing some cheques?
I think the port company is probably looking at that. That's not my starting point. Probably where we reach agreement is that they see some value in separating the port, an operating company and a land company.
Right, so this is on the cards?
Yeah, I think so, particularly around the relocation. If the ports decide to relocate out of Auckland, I'm not going to have the ports sell off the land to the highest commercial bidder in order to relocate, because that won't guarantee the cultural, environmental, social and economic outcomes that I want for Auckland.
Okay, so I'm starting to smell a development here. So when, and look, obviously you are a new mayor, and obviously this is for the council to decide, but when will we have a declaratory position? When will we know exactly what it is you and the council are thinking about?
Well, I think the next step is that, having briefed me, I want the ports company to brief the council as a whole in a workshop, and we have confidential workshops where we go through issues that can be commercially sensitive. I want a full briefing for the council, what the options are, what the evidence-based solutions may be to the challenges that the port faces. That's the logical way of going about it.
Phil Goff, watch this space. I suspect